Hey everyone, it's Megan again. We are talking about stabilizers today. So when I first talk about stabilizers, I like to generalize them down to 4 different categories. We've got Tearaway, Cutaway, Washaway, and your specialty topper stuff. These 3 are going to be the most common that you see when you're working on projects and stuff, so let's dive right in. Tearaway Stabilizer is often the one that we start with the most often. It also is one that's really good for example OESD's tile scenes and things like that. I like to think of it as the trial run kind of stabilizer, or the one that's really good for in the hoop projects. Some good examples of in the hoop projects for Tearaway Stabilizer would be like OESD Holly Jolly greeting cards. These ones are really fun because you actually stitch right onto the stabilizer, or right on the stabilizer and the cardstock, and it ends up making a really cute greeting card. It looks super fancy off of your embroidery machine. And then also, when you're experimenting with your machine, when you first get it home and everything, it's really fun to kind of experiment with stuff with the stabilizer. So this is something that I made when I first took home my first embroidery machine, where I just stitched out a little hummingbird and tried it out, and then I ended up making a placement out of it because I thought it turned out pretty cute. So Tearaway Stabilizer is great for experimentation, great for in-the-hoop projects, and overall it's pretty versatile. Now I'm going to talk about one of my favorites, which is going to be the Cutaway Stabilizer. So Cutaway Stabilizer is going to be fantastic for projects that you don't want to stretch, for in-the-hoop quilting, and that sort of fun stuff. So a good example of this guy is going to be like a onesie. I just had a little boy, and this is one that he wears fairly often, but on this one, what you do is you use a Cutaway Stabilizer on it so it doesn't stretch when you stretch it over his little head. And then there's also a Cutaway Stabilizer that you can put on after you stitch it out, so it's not so scratchy on them, which is really nice, especially for those infants who are very sensitive with their skin. So Cutaway Stabilizer is going to be great for those in-the-hoop quilting projects, like when you're doing quilt blocks, or for when you are working on garments and things. The other very popular stabilizer is going to be Washaway Stabilizer. Washaway Stabilizer is really fun because it's fantastic for doing towels, doing napkin corners, or even doing freestanding lace, which can be just lace in general, or nice big projects like this OESD Haunted Mansion. Some projects that I thought was really good from OESD would be the Bath Time Buddies collection. This one is one I plan to do in the future. You do this on a towel, which is really kind of cool. And then there's tons of cute little guys. And then also, these are really good examples of napkin corners. So a napkin corner is you stitch it onto the Washaway Stabilizer, rinse it in the sink, it goes away, it turns out beautiful. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about the toppers and the specialties. This kind of stabilizer, it kind of depends on what project you're working on. I grabbed 3 of the specialty things that I personally use a lot. So over here I've got Badge Master, which Badge Master is like a topper that's a little bit thicker. And this is great for things like these here, because it kind of helps when you do your freestanding lace to not let everything fall apart. It ends up kind of sticking everything together a little bit better because it's so thick. I've also got the Fusible Woven, which personally, this is one of my absolute favorites. Fusible Woven is fantastic for those big tile scenes that I was talking about, or for anything that you need to be a little bit thicker because the design is very dense. It's a good backing for it, and it will end up increasing the thread count of the fabric that you're using. So I use this all the time on almost every project that I do anymore. And then the last one I've got is going to be Stitch H2O, which is a topper. So this is going to be really good for example, those towels I was talking about. It's good to go over the top, raises the stitches up, and makes it look a lot prettier. So overall, stabilizer is going to be something that's super important for you. I recommend giving it all a try, seeing what kind of projects you can think of, and see how it goes. Thanks for joining me. Have fun stitching.